I'd like to call the City of Menasha Board of Public Works to order. Clerk, take the roll, please.
Alderman Sevenick?
Here.
Alderman Collier?
Here.
Alderman Kruger?
Here.
Alderman Zielinski? Alderman Grady?
Here.
Alderman Benner? Alderman Nichols?
Here.
Alderman Taylor?
Here. I'll look for a motion to approve minutes and communications. Now, his doesn't work.
So you'll have to turn yours off.
No. I make the motion to approve the minutes of May 1st, 2017 and Communications 1.
Okay.
There was a motion made. Is there a second? Okay. Motion made and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Item 1, payment to Summers Construction. And
You want to discuss the communication?
any discussion on communications? No. Okay. I'll entertain a
We're right here, James, is what they're saying is this part right here.
that was part of the communications. That's it. It's done.
We wanted to.
And I asked if there was any discussion on communications. You want to talk about that? Okay. Alderman Kruger.
Yeah, I would just like if the Public Works could just give a really brief explanation on the conclusion or recommendations for the leaf pickup. Thank you.
What we did is last fall, we picked out the island, did a trial pilot program using just our loader and a specialized bucket in order to reduce costs, something similar to what Appleton had done. Yes, we can save money. B, there are some issues with it because we have to store the leaves in the street. Can we save enough money to justify dealing with those issues? What we have found over the last couple of years is that keeping the schedule is difficult. I'm not giving up on that. I still think that that's something that's important to me so that the residents know when we're going to be in an area. So with that in mind, in order to provide us with some flexibility staffing-wise, we feel as though it's best to leave them on the terrace. We'll look at other options. We are working on something right now. I did not address it in the memo until we got something a little more concrete, maybe in a week or two. We'll have something a little more definitive, but I think that we're on to something that will help us address the staffing issues when it comes to our leaf collection. So after reviewing we surveyed the public that was affected by it. It was pretty much middle ground, non-committal. Again, we can save some money doing it with the loaders, but somewhat disappointed with the amount of time it took us to collect the island. However, it's a rather large portion of our overall leaves that we do collect, but at the end of the day, again, there are some issues with storing it in the street, and if we cannot keep a schedule, I just don't think it's the right thing to do. So, and that's why we decided to go back and we'll revisit our leaf or our vacuum operations and see if there's ways that we can save time and money.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Aye.
Alderman Sevenick.
Thank you, Alderman Taylor. Ever since this program started, I've had a bad feeling about it. I've never liked the idea of our community throwing everything out into the street. I know they do it in other communities, but to me that's got to be one of the biggest environmental disasters, especially for the city of Menasha, that we live between a river and two lakes. And a lot of this goes down the storm sewers and out to the lake, and then we complain and have issues with the water, the algae and all those kinds of issues. And I saw your survey, and to me it looked really, if you really look at it, it looked like most people were disappointed, because you had it where those handful were happy with it, but then you gave 7 other selections where you okay, somewhat okay, or sort of okay, or, you know, and I don't like the program. I think environmentally it's the wrong thing for us to do. My feeling is that we do have equipment depreciation fund. If we have equipment that is broke down, which I thought was actually that the vacuum was down for some time, we should have purchased the new one. Otherwise, do you want us council members to start taking over that depreciation fund? No, you don't want to do that. That's why we created that. I think someone's made a policy decision up here that wanted to maybe look at something different, and I don't think it worked that great. I wanted to give it a chance, but then I would see things that just disturbed me. And watching the crew going at it just scared me. Looking at the streets, I don't know how well the streets took that equipment on there, but I'll tell you, the next day when you would go down any of those streets, they were just scuffed up like you wouldn't believe. And you know, the streets are in rough condition, and we're not changing any of those streets that I am aware of, and it's only going to make things worse. I think the best way to do this collection is the way we've been doing it, and I think the majority, at least when I campaigned, I actually talked about this issue, and my neighbors did not want to see that come in my neighborhood. If the island wants to do that, let them have that, but I think it's a big mistake for the reasons that I stated.
Alderman Collier.
I appreciate what you just said, but I took a few walks and watched the city workers do their job. It was a little noisy, it was a little frightening at times, but it's the first time they're doing this type of procedure. I know Appleton saves a little bit of money. I don't know exactly how much. We were gonna do this as a trial to see what we could save. You gotta be willing to flex and do something different. I agree that if you get in the storm sewers and stuff, it's bad, but if you put it on any place, the wind blows, you got that chance. But I think down the road, if you want to do another trial, I don't think it's a bad idea, because I think the majority of the people didn't like how it looked when it got done, but it's also the first year we did it. And if we can save money and decrease funding for that and put it someplace else, we save money. So at least we can look at it down the road, and I appreciate the effort you put in and the effort the guys put in. The biggest complaint I heard was early morning when it bangs. It definitely was bad, but otherwise, thank you.
Alderman Benner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with both Alderman Stevenich on some of their comments, and one thing, this was a pilot program. It does work for some other communities, so I think that there was strong rationale for doing it. When I read the surveys, a lot of things we've been talking about for a decade now, as far as scheduling our leaf pickup and a lot of those things, turned out to truly be important to people, that when they do their things with their yard, they don't want their leaves sitting either on their boulevard or on their apron or out on the road. Either way, they like to know when they're going to get picked up so that they can do that accordingly. So those parts of the survey, I think really, I'm sure, hit home and agree that it's something that we can continue to work on and find some more strengths in. But what I was wondering, and I don't know that the island was really the best place to try this just because of the nature of the island, and I was wondering if there was another part of the city that you thought might work better to try it, to maybe try it again, with some different, more modern roads or something like that. And I don't really have a lot of emotion over it either way. I was just wondering if we completely abandon the program altogether, or if you have some other thoughts.
Again, I don't know if it's the area as much, in my opinion, as, you know, the amount of leaves. That's what we found on the first collection. Things went really well up to a point. When, with the way we were set up, you know, other communities create these piles a little bit differently than what we did. Just with what we had to try and push these any distances to create piles, as I mentioned in the memo, I think would reduce our cost efficiency with it. Almost all our areas are going to have curb and gutter. I don't, you know, we did utilize it when one of our vacuum machines was down, like Rubenard, the Five Oaks Trailer Park. It was invaluable on those, you know, those couple of days that we were waiting on parts. I don't, you know, and I don't disagree with some of your issues or your concerns as far as environmentally, and that's where, to me, the schedule is important. If it's out there a day, you know, we can get it. That was one of the things that was somewhat disappointing in the amount of time it took us to collect the, you know, all those leaves. We got the loader bucket. We're not getting rid of it because it will come in handy. And if you give me a couple of weeks, I think we'll bring something back to you that we're kind of excited about as an opportunity to reduce our costs and manpower and yet still vacuum these leaves. We're going to model something after the city of De Pere. If we can get if we can get our investment in this piece of equipment, which is going to be specialized, only use 6, you know, maybe if we use it in the spring, expand it maybe, you know, 8 weeks out of the year. I don't want that investment to be any greater than what our cost would be in a vacuum machine. But we're looking at automating the leaf collection. De Pere's been doing it for, they have 4 machines right now and they're building their 5th one. So, and I guess where we're headed is a 1-person operation with vacuum. So we're in the process, and give us a couple of weeks and we'll let you know whether or not that's the route we're going to go, but we're encouraged by it right now with what we see. So that's one of the reasons I'm a little more willing to give up on this at this point in time, is because I think that there is another option out there that will let us get us to where we need to get to. So, and without storing the leaves in the street. So.
Well, you know, with the island having a lot more narrow streets and a lot of mature trees and a lot of that stuff, it does make it a little tougher. But.
Correct.
All right.
So.
Appreciate that, Alex. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Alderman Nichols.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. This was a experiment of sorts, and it's important to try new things every now and then to determine whether or not they'll work in our community. And so I appreciate your efforts in this and your willingness to keep me in the loop, keep me informed, and to work together through this. It's very appreciated. And I think the residents truly appreciate their ability to provide their feedback as well. I think they'll be pleased to hear that the city will be returning to a vacuum. And I hope that we can think about moving forward how we'll inform those residents once again that it'll be time to put the leaves back on the terrace this fall. Thank you.
We'll try and address those, folks.
Any other questions? Alderman Zelinski.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I was kind of sad to see this die, because I was excited for the cost savings that were going to be inflicted with it, but you really don't think that moving forward with this, trying this another year, getting better at it, learning more understanding, like, you couldn't get it down to a better science that...
Well, I think we could get better at it, but there again, I think what it boils down to with us is there are times that we have to shut down a leaf crew, and sometimes 2. You take last year, for instance, we had to help out the water department on Racine Street with running a water main underneath the railroad tracks. DeLuca and Tobin came downtown and had some issues that we had to remedy. So There again, do we really want to store the leaves in the street if we can't get to them in a timely fashion? I just think that is a problem, or could be a greater problem than what we experienced just over on the island here this past fall. Again, one of the reasons you're just seeing this now is that we debated it quite a bit, and yeah, I am about saving money and about the numbers. I'm a number cruncher, and as I kept adding it up, it's like, we can save some money doing this. But I think this other option that we're going to bring forward, hopefully that we'll bring forward soon, will give us that ability to do that as well. Again, as long as our investment is about the same as what we plan to spend on a leaf machine, and if we can cut our man hours down, I mean, it's going to save us some money.
So what you're basically saying is this is a direct correlation with our staffing. It comes down to at some point.
It does at some point, yes.
And
We
that's-
only have so many people.
Is that why you think it worked better in other communities? They had a bigger staff and
It could be, yes. More people to choose from, or more folks to draw from in
Yeah,
order
apples to
to take
oranges,
care of
yeah.
those services. So, and you guys got to realize that our street department functions, I think, differently than many other communities. We don't just fill in potholes. We're out there replacing curb and gutter, sidewalk, some paving of streets, in addition just to patching, and that's a valuable service that I think that the community can be proud of, and sometimes that interferes with us being able to provide the services also. So, but then again, rest assured, we get all the leaves. We have been able to get them. We haven't had any early winters. That'd be the only reason that would set us back. But I'm willing to look at this other option. So.
yeah. Thank you for your commitment.
Any other discussion? I'd just like to say, Superintendent Alec, we certainly appreciate the Department of Public Works' flexibility, looking at new options, and that's always appreciated by the taxpayer. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And also, we certainly appreciate yourself, Tim and Corey, with our staffing reduction here. We appreciate all your hard work and extra hours that you guys are putting in. Thanks. We'll move on to discussion, item E, item 1, payment, Summers Construction Contract Unit 2017-01. I'll entertain a motion. Alderman Zelensky.
I make the motion for payment for Summers Construction Contract Unit 2017-01, new street construction including asphalt trail and concrete sidewalk, Province Terrace from Province Link to Midway Road, totaling $184,267.69, payment number 1.
Motion made and seconded by Alderman Kruger. Any discussion? We'll take a roll call.
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Moving on to item 2, look for a motion to recommend to award contract unit 2017-02. Alderman Zelensky.
I make the motion for contract unit 2017-02, new street construction, reconstruction, rehabilitation, various streets, MCC Inc., totaling $652,472.49.
And seconded by Alderman Kruger. Any discussion? Roll call.
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
I'll entertain a motion for our recommendation to award contract unit 2017-05. Alderman Zelensky.
Thank you. I recommend to award contract unit 2017-05 Memorial Building Boiler Replacement Project, Mechanical Technologies, Inc., totaling $27,500.
Motion made and seconded by Alderman Kruger. Any discussion?
I do, Alderman Taylor.
Alderman Severnik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see that this is going to be a high efficiency boiler. Was there any type of look at as far as cost savings, but you, like, spending the 27,000, where what might we recoup our costs?
I did not
roughly?
calculate anything. If you guys look, we originally budgeted a lot more money than this, so.
That was a good bid, too.
We're experiencing, yes, good bid, and we're experiencing some savings than what we anticipated. I haven't calculated anything for you guys. I can certainly bring something
I mean,
back.
when you get this, don't they tell you, like, it's like,
No,
there's a rating?
we specified what we wanted. We specified the boilers, 2 different boilers. We're looking at 94 to 95% efficiency.
Okay, that's what I
versus,
meant.
yeah, versus what we currently have. We're going off trying to read an old nameplate, and we do some efficiency testing on them, and you're looking at probably 70s, mid 70%, or 20%
Okay,
improved
that
efficiency on this.
answers my question. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Alderman Nichols.
Thank you. When do you anticipate this project happening?
Once contract's approved, they probably will start within a couple of weeks. Obviously, contract said before the end of September, end of August, I take that back, I think, to be completed. It won't take very long.
Does it have the potential to interfere with any
No.
programming at the
No.
building?
No.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call.
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Moving on to item 4, discussion of options for the Racine Street Bridge. We certainly heard a lot about the Racine Street Bridge in the council meeting portion. At this time, I'm going to make a motion to remove alternative J as the preferred option for the Racine Street Bridge replacement, and the city of Menasha has no interest in owning the Racine Street Bridge. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Zelinski. Discussion? Alderman Collier.
If we pull out of this project and tell them that we don't want to do nothing, what would it cost the city that you know of?
I don't know. Yeah.
They got, I'm guessing they got $500,000 in it, no?
I'm not sure if the, I don't think there'd be any charge cost to us. The last council voted for it, and if another council wants to change things, just at the state level, things get changed at the state level from year to year. Alderman Kruger?
My understanding is that in the city doesn't have an actual say on which option is going to be. It was a recommendation and stuff. Did the DOT already, I think they already did, they already sat there and said we're going to go with option J. Is that correct?
The city, the council voted for alternative J. Yes.
Right, and I think,
And you are correct by saying that it's just our recommendation to them. They have the final say on what they want to pick.
okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Mr.
Alderman
Chairman.
Severnak.
Earlier, Alderman Benner, you had mentioned some steps that were taken in 2015 or something, and I kind of got distracted by that because, and correct me and help me, because I want you to repeat what you had said. This is the way I've been told in the community, is that if they reconstruct the existing bridge, the state pays for it and maintains it. If we go with item J that council recommended, then they pay for the bridge, but then they give us ownership and we have to maintain it. And if anything ever happens to it in the future, we have to build either the new bridge or fix it. So am I correct in that, or did I Because I was confused,
are.
because you made it sound as though if we reconstructed the bridge, regardless, we were gonna have to own it.
That is correct with what you had said. Alderman Benner.
And it was my recollection that it was just what I said, that if they reconstruct it, you know, we get a facelift. And then after that, and again, it's my recollection, that then, I can't remember if they maintain it from that point or not, but I thought it was gonna be our bridge after that. If they build is that correct, Mr. Mayor, or
Someone's
no?
gotta correct me on this.
It could be wrong. That was over 2 years ago, but I thought that, and that could be right, that they maintain it. But they're gonna build, if they build a bridge, if they give a facelift to the bridge, then I think it goes on status quo. But I thought that we were gonna own it after, once it needed to be replaced, we were gonna have to replace it anyways. They would maintain it up until it had to be replaced. And then once they deemed it had to be replaced, we were gonna pay to replace it. Or if they put a bridge up, then we have a new bridge, but we were gonna own it. I don't recall that we were gonna have to operate it. I thought that the operation of the lift bridge was gonna stay the same. I don't recall that being part of it. It may or may not have been, but it wasn't my recollection that we were gonna have to operate it, but I could be completely wrong in that. So I think I'd like to defer to the mayor. He's certainly been working on it more. That was over 2 years ago that we were working on that.
Mayor, you want to chime in?
So Kevin's correct. If they would rehabilitate the bridge, they would maintain ownership and operation of it. What was uncertain is if the high-cost lift bridge replacement fund would be available 20 or so years from now when the bridge needed to be replaced. So we may be on the hook for everything. When it does actually need to be replaced at that point, there's no guarantees at all. That was what the discussion was. So we can, if we just rehabilitate it, yes, things will continue status quo. The other thing, I did talk to Bill Bertrand last week, and he said that if we changed our recommendation, we may be on the hook for the design costs above and beyond for that change if they
You
do
have that in
change
writing,
that.
Mayor?
He said may. I don't know for sure. He just said may.
Maybe.
So,
Okay, let's
we
not
don't know
state
either.
something that's not, that
I'm
we don't have in
stating-
writing.
I'm stating exactly what Bill told me.
Right.
So that was the other thing that we talked about.
But he said maybe, right?
He said may,
May,
yes.
okay,
So we don't know that.
okay. And I don't see how that would be, because the state of Wisconsin has the final pick on, we had items A through J, and each one had a different design to it. And ultimately, the DOT gets to pick which one they want to give us. So if we took one out of the loop or changed one, I don't see how they could charge us for that. And he said may, so that's pretty vague. Any other questions?
Yes, I do.
Alderman
Taylor, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm still concerned, I'm still not quite catching the 20-year thing. Like, obviously, the mechanics of the bridge need to be replaced, and that's what
That's not true.
DOT would do if they were to change and maintain the existing bridge, correct? Well, there's a lot of confusion here, because a lot of my opinion and vote is gonna be based on these facts, because number one, I don't like item J. Just don't like the roundabouts and all that business. I think we can live with the existing bridge that we have, as long as it is repaired and the maintenance on the operations is fixed. Now, I've been told that it's the mechanics of the drawbridge that need the replacing and not so much the bridge itself. And that as long as they're doing that, they would fix the remainder or update the remainder of the existing bridge, and then they would retain ownership. But because staff, yourself, and some in the community felt they wanted additional elements to this bridge, mainly a bike lane. And because of that, now we may have to take ownership of this bridge because of these additional things and maintain it for the rest of our lives. I don't know if that's the right trade-off. So I don't want to jump to any conclusions because I think this is too big of a decision to make. I guess if, you know, DOT was willing to pay for it, but every time I turn on the news, they don't know where the money's coming from for half the projects in the state right now. So, I mean, it scares me a little bit. I mean, maybe I'm wasting my breath up here because maybe they won't even do anything till 2025 or more. So I guess I was trying to ask, I want to understand that if this council all of a sudden changed what they did a couple years ago or a year ago or whatever it was, and that we decided we would have them fix the lift, fix the decking of the current bridge, leave things the way they are, that the state would own it, and they would have to maintain it. Am I correct in that?
The state, if we don't do anything, the state owns the bridge. They take care of the bridge. They maintain the bridge. We don't want to, what I'm saying here is we don't want to have ownership of this bridge for the taxpayers. And if they do something in 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, well, I guess that's the economics of that time. And at that point, somebody will make that decision. Alderman Kruger.
Yeah, 2 years is a long time ago, and it seems like a lot of people's memories are extremely vague in what happened, what the circumstances were, and stuff like that. I think it'd be foolhardy to sit there and actually make a decision tonight on this with absolutely no facts. We need, in order to make a wise decision, we need to actually have what was actually determined, or what the DOT said, and a better clarification on the design of reimbursements if the council or the body decides to go in that direction and eliminate option J. And we need that information in front of us before we make any type of rash decisions on anything. I would like to make a motion to postpone this till the next meeting to give staff and all that time to get the correct information to this council, which half of this council was not involved in any of these decisions in the
To
first
forward
place.
this to the council.
Pardon?
To forward this to the council.
Well, I think this needs to be hashed out in committee first. You know, I don't think this is
Oh,
overly
those
pressing.
questions could be answered in council.
I'm a believer that this should be actually hashed out in committee first. I don't think there's
Then this
anything
resolution
pressing.
should have too,
Right, yeah, but,
because I asked for this to appear on the council. But I was
Yes,
told
Chairman.
it had to be appear. I'm just telling you where we're going with this.
yes, Chairman, but I'm dealing with what's in this committee at the moment,
Okay.
and I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no to anything, but we can't make a decision based on my recollection is, but it could be very poor. I don't have the facts on this, you know, and we have no facts. And I don't think it's actually a wise choice to rush through this type of decision with absolutely no facts in front of us. And again, half this council was not there at this time making those decisions, listening to all the facts to the whole thing. We're bystanders and partly paying attention to this. So I would much rather have this come up at the next committee meetings with the correct information so this could be discussed properly. So I would still like to make the recommendation to postpone this till the next Public Works meeting, so the correct information can be supplied for clarifications and no one's making a ill-informed decision.
Okay. Second. Motion made and second. All in favor? Any discussion? Alderman Collier.
I know that it must have went to the planning committee and the public board and everything 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I'm assuming it must have had a stamp of approval to get to the council, and I'm assuming the council voted to go forward with it. Now we have a second and a third council here since then, and the information is probably back in packets or back someplace, and I agree that we should seriously sit down and get the information. But if it was, I think it was 7-1 that it should go forward last time. And by going back and forth, it just makes us look crazy. I want to get the information. I hope we can get this done and go forward with it one way or the other. I don't see the bridge not coming, but the information is needed, but the other councils voted for it, and this is the bad rap on Menasha. We go back and forth and don't get nothing done. Thank you.
I tend to disagree with that because a bad rap is the body, the city did not get to vote even on the referendum of it, and that's a bad rap. And also, when you sign and die, that council, that's what they did. This is now, this is in the present, and this is how government moves forward. And if they make changes, just like the state makes changes. If you go over to my brother's house and look at his shoreline, DNR 1 year said you could have this type of shoreline. The next year they changed it. You got to have this type of shoreline. He wanted both the same shoreline, but the state of Wisconsin changed it. So the state of Wisconsin makes changes too. And up here, we can make changes too. So any further discussion? Alderman Nichols.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree with Alderman Kruger. There are 3 people here who were part of that decision. The other folks are new, and so it's hard for me to imagine how we could even entertain a discussion without relevant information before us. While I am disheartened that this has been brought forward because I question the precedents it sets, as I agree with Alderman Collier in his statements that councils make decisions and we move forward. And this was made a year and a half ago. So I will support making sure that all of us have the right information, and perhaps, Mayor, could we extend an invitation to Bill Bertrand to come and answer questions? I would
I think we should iron out our stuff first.
You can, we're not talking amongst each other here. Just tell us what you want, and we'll see if that we have that.
I would like to request that we invite Mr. Bill Bertrand,
Okay.
who is the project manager for this project, to come
Okay.
and answer council questions,
You wanna put
or
that in
Board
a-
of Public Works
You
questions,
want to put that in the
excuse me.
form of a motion?
I,
If that's what this body wants.
well, I was just informed
You
there's
don't
a
need
motion on the
motion.
floor.
You can ask if the,
Alderman Seven, I'm running this meeting, I'm asking for a motion because this body up here, listen, this body up here has, what they have their fun, time, I'm running it now, and I'm asking for a motion. If she wants this body, she cannot act alone to have Mr. Bertrand here, okay? If this body wants Mr. Bertrand up here, fine,
yeah, point of order then.
point of order.
You're supposed to say, state your point
State
of
your
order. My
point of
point of order is the fact that there's a motion on the floor. You can't have 2 motions on the floor.
If she
That's all.
wants
Afterwards or something, or?
right,
I just, whatever.
okay.
It's up to you. What you want to do.
We'll take care of the first motion here, and it was a motion to postpone. We'll vote on that if there's no further discussion.
She's,
Okay.
I still have further discussion.
Okay.
Okay, so anyways, Alderman Collier had mentioned the fact that they had, and Alderman Nichols mentioned the fact that, that, you know, they made this decision in the past. But I believe they made that decision with the understanding that we as a city were going to try to get the state of Wisconsin to continue ownership. And now only today, where we got a resolution in our, to be sent off to the state senator. So I sure hope that that council didn't make a decision on taking absolute ownership and maintenance of a bridge. So I believe that a lot of them felt that at some point the state would understand this and that they would take ownership, but that hasn't happened, and that's why there's questions being raised today about the whole situation.
Any further discussion? Alderman Collier.
I better just be quiet.
Okay. Last check, we live in a democracy, I guess at times, but when a council is changed, the public has spoke, and that's what we live under. And if the public didn't like something, maybe that's why they vote people out of office. And then another body comes in and they have their turn on it, and that may be to overturn something, that may be the status quo, but that's how democracy functions. And that's what might have happened this time with the big change in our council. Would take a roll call on this to postpone.
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Okay, Alderman Nichols wanted to have Mr. Bertrand here.
I'll make my motion.
Okay.
I haven't made it yet.
Well, it sounded like it.
He'd second it.
Mr. Bertrand is the project manager for this project, and he'll know better than anybody the ins and outs of everything we're trying to learn about. And so I move that we invite Mr. Bertrand to this next Board of Public Works meeting, and hopefully he can make that night. Otherwise, I hope, never mind, I'll stop there. That's my motion.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seeing no second?
Yeah, there was a
Motion fails.
second.
There was Alderman Collier.
Oh, Barney.
I thought he was talking to you. Seconded by Alderman Collier. All in favor?
Can we have
Aye.
discussion?
Opposed? Motion carries. See, no further discussion.
discussion, huh?
Oh, Alderman Severnik.
That's all right, you took your vote. It's all right.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay. Motion made by Alderman Bennett, second by Mr. Zelinski. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Broadcasts of the City of Menasha Administration Committee, Board of Public Works, and Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Menasha residents and interested parties can obtain information about these meetings and meeting agendas from the city website, www.cityofmenasha-wi.gov. Expression of opinions regarding City of Menasha issues or about these broadcasts can be made by contacting the Mayor's Office, 920-967-5117. Contacting their City Alderman. Contact information appears on the website. Completing the electronic feedback form on the website. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.